I am a face swapper. I can take anyone's face and change it to whatever they desire. I've helped many people change their faces, but today, a peerless beauty arrived. The Madam of the Marquis Manor, living in luxury above thousands. News that the Marquis of Yongnan was taking a second wife had spread through the capital for 3 days. The Madam of Yongnan visited my little shop. I heard this Dianzhuang Tower can change a person's face. Is the owner willing to take my case? I looked at her face, as beautiful as a flower. I smiled gently. It's the rule of Dianzhuang Tower. To change a beauty's face, I charge no fee. But the face you discard must stay in this tower for my use. The madam softly agreed. I took a writhing boneworm from a box. One last time with the Madam of Yongnan, I confirmed. This face-changing bone can only be used once in a lifetime. Once your features are altered, they can never be changed back. She was firm. Change it. I will not look back. I flicked a sharp needle from my sleeve and made a small cut below her ear. The boneworm in my hand moved at the scent of blood. Following that slit, it burrowed into the madam's pale skin. Her crowing eyelashes trembled slightly. Her pale red lips were tightly pressed. I always feel pity for beauties. I asked if she wanted some numbing medicine. It's free of charge. When she first came to me with the request, I had explained it clearly. The pain involved in changing a face. The process takes 7 days in total. For the first 5 days, the boneworm burrows into the face, peeling the skin from the flesh and bone from within. This is the first stage of pain. In the final 2 days, the original skin falls off completely. When the new skin is applied, the boneworm secretes a fluid, a mucus that corrodes the bones that don't fit perfectly. Back then, she was so scared her lips were bitten through. But now, she resolutely refused my help. Her voice trembled slightly. I want to remember this pain. Only when it hurts enough. Will I stop thinking about turning back? How could she bear to discard such a world-tilting face of a peerless beauty? To escape. For freedom. The reasons guests come to Dianzhuang Tower are mostly to hide from enemies, or to possess a more beautiful appearance. Only the madam was different. What made the pampered madam of the Marquis willing to endure pain beyond normal human limits, just to escape her lack of freedom? To monitor the boneworm at all times. I took the place of her personal maid. I entered the Marquis Manor. The madam couldn't stay away for long, so I posed as a newly bought maid. I moved into the manor. I didn't expect to encounter a coincidence there. The woman the Marquis was about to marry as an equal wife, the long-lost younger sister of the madam, was actually a guest who had changed her face at my shop. She had stolen the identity of the person whose face she took. At night, when she was about to rest, the Marquis of Yongnan arrived. It was widely rumored in the capital that the Marquis was a rare romantic, deeply devoted and loyal to his wife, never letting another woman near him. I stood nearby. I caught a glimpse of this so-called romantic, who disregarded his wife's dignity to take an equal wife. High brows, deep eyes, a straight nose, and thin, slightly downturned lips. He had a good face, but his aura was too cold and stern, giving off an air of heartless coldness. His voice was even colder. How much longer are you going to throw a tantrum? Ninger and I already had a betrothal. For the sake of our childhood friendship, I didn't demote you to a concubine, but allowed you the position of an equal wife. Are you still not satisfied? She is your own sister. You already stole her position as the primary wife. What more do you want to argue about? The madam's red lips moved slightly. There was no anger on her face, only disappointment and sadness. Don't forget, you were the one who said back then that you and I begged our parents together to let me fulfill the betrothal in my sister's place. If you think this position of primary wife should be hers, you can simply divorce me. I never wanted to fight for anything. The Marquis stiffened for a moment. His tone softened slightly. Don't say such angry things to spite me. Your parents are unkind to you. Where would you go if you left me? Besides, I couldn't bear to treat you that way. Marrying Ninger is just to compensate for the years of suffering she endured. It won't affect the feelings between us. The Marquis Manor will always be your home. I will always be your husband. These two things won't change, he said tenderly. He reached out to embrace her. The madam lowered her eyes. She didn't move. Like a wooden carving in his arms, she gave no response. The Marquis coaxed her a bit more. Suddenly, a maid's voice came from outside. Marquis, our young miss is having a nightmare. She's been crying and calling your name. Please, go see our young miss. Upon hearing this, he didn't hesitate for a second. He immediately let go of the madam. Ninger is different. You were raised in luxury and pampered. She's been wandering outside for years. She's timid and fearful. I'll go check and be back in a while. After the madam nodded, he strode away without looking back. The madam muttered to herself. Only I, standing beside her, could hear. Haven't I also grown up in fear and trembling? But you've never felt sorry for me. That night, the Marquis did not return. From the second day, as the boneworm peeled more flesh from the skin, the madam felt increasingly intense pain. However, she acted as if she couldn't feel it. Her face was calm. A deathly stillness. A stillness that lacked the breath of a living person. A maid came in to announce. Madam, Master Yi, and old Madam Yi have arrived. The Marquis asks you to meet them in the main hall. I held the madam's hand and followed her to the hall. As soon as we entered, the two elders, over 50, glared at her. Old Madam Yi was the first to speak. I heard Ninger was trapped in a nightmare last night. We let Ninger move into the manor early. Wasn't it for you to help her recover? As her elder sister. How on earth are you taking care of her? Master Yi followed immediately. Didn't you study medicine under a master? Why has your sister been here so long? And you still haven't cured her condition? The madam said helplessly, Father, Mother. Have you forgotten? Last time I made a soup to calm her nerves. She refused to drink it. She even cried, saying I was trying to poison her. Because of that, the Marquis called me a venomous woman. He put me in confinement. You also came and scolded me for a whole day. Not one of you believed me. How would I dare to help her again? As soon as she said this, Master and Old Madam Yi choked on their words. Old Madam Yi snorted coldly. I think you're just resentful that Ninger is back. And taking your place as the madam. So you're deliberately watching her suffer. And doing nothing. Don't forget, this position was hers originally. You should return it to her. I saw tears glinting in the madam's eyes. Her hands trembled. She pointed at them. We heard Ninger liked the Marquis. So you tricked me into bringing him home. You even drugged him to create a scene. Of them being together. It caused my miscarriage and the pain of losing a child. All because you think I took her place, right? Old Madam Yi retorted, is it not so? If you hadn't taken the husband who belonged to Ninger. And after she returned, resolutely refused to let her marry into the Marquis house, causing her to lose her appetite and weep every day. Your father and I wouldn't have resorted to this. As for the child in your womb, it's because you didn't have the fortune or ability to keep it. The madam clenched her hands. With red eyes, she questioned. I clearly said I could request a divorce. And give the position of primary wife to my sister. Why did you refuse then? Master Yi flicked his sleeve. A daughter being divorced and sent back. What a laughable scandal that would be. You don't care about your dignity, but your mother, your sister, and I still do. These words were almost blatantly calling the madam shameless. Her body couldn't help but sway. I quickly moved to steady her. The Marquis of Yong'an arrived late. Just in time to hear the last sentence. Seeing the madam's pale, fragile face. A trace of pity flashed in his eyes. He comforted her. Since I married you, I have never thought of divorcing you. You will be mine for the rest of your life. I care for Ninger so much. Partly because she is your sister. I love her for your sake. Old Madam Yi scolded the madam. You've failed in your duty as an elder sister. The Marquis has to take care of your sister for you. Instead of being grateful to him, you dare to throw tantrums. So sensible and uncultured. Agreeing to let such a jealous and immoral daughter marry into the Marquis house is our debt to the Marquis. The madam closed her eyes. As if she were disgusted by them. She suddenly began to retch. Seeing this, the Marquis' expression changed. He pushed me aside and supported her waist. What's wrong? If you weren't well, why didn't you say so? If I had known, I wouldn't have let you come out to host your parents. After speaking, he picked her up and hurried back to the inner courtyard. He didn't forget to order me to call a doctor. Master and Old Madam Yi left with sour faces. The Marquis stayed while the doctor checked her pulse. He only left after hearing she was fine. Once no one else was in the room, I finally had the chance to ask what was bothering me. Were those two elders really your parents? The madam's eyes dimmed. She nodded slightly. I was shocked. Your biological parents? From the way they insulted her. She didn't look like their daughter. She looked more like an enemy. The madam gave a bitter laugh. I would rather not be biological. Soon after, another guest arrived. Following the maid's announcement, a beauty in a red dress entered the bedroom. Her voice was melodious and seductive. Let me see. This must be the madam. The younger sister who was lost as a child and found only after she grew up. I looked up. My pupils constricted. This person was a guest at my branch of Dianzhuang Tower in Jiangnan. A guest indeed. The reason I remembered her was that the face she wanted was incredibly moving and ethereal. I happened to be visiting Jiangnan then. I was in the mood. Afraid my subordinates would ruin such a beauty's look. I did it myself. I searched my memory for information on this person. She was originally a brothel keeper from Huaiwa Tower, 32 years old. She had come with a beauty's corpse that had just stopped breathing and was still warm, offering her entire fortune to Dianzhuang Tower, just for a chance to change her face. The face she took was exactly the 17-year-old fresh beauty's look. Perhaps because I stared too long. The beauty glanced over. I gave a respectful smile. Then I lowered my head. I was in disguise in the matter. She didn't recognize me. Dianzhuang Tower only takes orders and never asks about a guest's past. Even if I ran into her today, for the sake of client privacy, I wouldn't reveal a single thing. It's just that I've always loved gossip. I was truly curious about this brothel keeper. And the story of the madam's family. At 32 years old, there was no way she could be the 20-year-old madam's biological sister. It was more likely she stole the identity of the girl whose face she took. The madam wasn't very warm toward this sister. I am fine. No need for you to worry. You may leave. I want to rest. Hearing this, the woman's eyes flickered. She laughed softly. Haha. I know you're not happy to see me. Tonight, I'll let Huixiong spend the night with you. Let him care for you. Take care of your health. My wedding with the Marquis is in half a month. I'll still need you to manage the arrangements. This seemingly kind but deliberately showy talk made the madam sneer. She didn't respond to her. In the evening, the Marquis did indeed come. He sat with the madam, chatting. The Marquis said, seeing you retching today. I thought you were carrying my child again. I went to the palace to ask for a tonic for you. Even if Ninger joins the family, the legitimate heir of the Marquis manor, I will only let you bear. He put on a tender front. It seemed the rumors about his love for his first wife weren't entirely false. He truly loved her, but that love was now split in two. His words only made the madam's face grow cold. Our child was already killed by you. Have you forgotten? The Marquis stiffened. A bit angry, a bit guilty. Are you still blaming me? If your parents hadn't plotted against me, how could I have ended up in bed with Ninger? The ones who caused your miscarriage were your parents. They don't love you. I am the only one who loves and cares for you. The madam stood up and smashed a teacup. She was furious. Get out. I don't want to see you right now. I don't want to hear your disgusting words. Having lost face, the Marquis. His expression turned cold as well. His tone became icy. It seems I've been too good to you lately. That's why you're so ungrateful. Ninger was afraid of the dark and begged me not to leave. But because I was worried about your health, I cruelly left her alone to come here. And yet, I can't even get a pleasant look from you. He flicked his sleeve and left. The anger on the madam's face faded. She returned to her usual emotionless state. That night, faint sounds of sobbing came from the bedroom. The madam wasn't actually as indifferent as she appeared on the surface. After the Marquis left in anger, he didn't come back for 3 days. The boneworm on the madam's face had already loosened most of her facial skin. The flesh underneath was being nourished by bone silk to keep it fresh. She had been enduring the agony of skin separation. Today, her eyes were finally red from the pain. For the first time, she showed weakness before me. She called me with a trembling voice. Miss Bai. The pain on my face is too much to bear. Accompany me for a walk in the garden. To distract me. The rockeries in the manor were tall and vast. The scenery was unique. I led the madam outside. But we heard female voices from around the corner. Juaner, why are the dark circles under your eyes worse today? The other girl grumbled resentfully. I've been on the night shift these past few days. The Marquis and Miss Yi play until midnight every night. I don't dare sleep until they call for water. I have to be up before dawn. No wonder I look like this. The other voice dropped lower. Miss Yi really has the Marquis hooked. Since she moved in. The Marquis hasn't even visited the madam's room. When I was on duty last time, the Marquis didn't close the window. I heard him praise Miss Yi's fragrant skin, saying she's a natural temptress. The maid's voice grew fainter until it was no longer audible. The madam's hand tightened on my arm. I turned to look at her. With tears in her eyes, she shook her head slightly. I tactfully remained silent. I helped her walk in the opposite direction. Once we returned to the inner courtyard, I finally let go of her hand. I checked the expression of the woman who had been silent all way. At that glance, I saw tears silently streaming down her face. She bit her lip, forcing herself to endure. Her ears were ringing with pain, hearing about the husband she'd loved for years, carrying on with another woman. No one could remain indifferent. I stood quietly until she finished crying. Then I pulled out a handkerchief and handed it to her. Wiping her tears, she forced a smile. It turns out when the heart hurts enough, that forced smile is more desperate than crying. I can't even feel the physical pain anymore. I reached out with some pity. I covered her tearful eyes and whispered. I think I understand now. Why you'd rather endure this pain to escape. Her own parents plotted against her. The husband she loved betrayed her. Yet she was forced to stay here and accept it all. If she didn't find a way to leave, every day and night from now on, she would live in soul-piercing agony. How could changing a face be more painful than that? In the blink of an eye, the 5th day arrived. It was time to change the face. I asked the madam if there was a look she wanted. The collection of 1,000 faces in Dianzhuang Tower was gathered by generations of masters, a storage of all kinds of human faces. The madam shook her head, feeling a bit lost. When I was a child, to please my parents, I acted like a filial and obedient daughter. After marriage, to keep my husband's love, I was always gentle and considerate. I don't think I've ever thought about what kind of person I want to be. In our line of work, it's forbidden to develop feelings for clients. Perhaps because she was truly beautiful. Seeing a beauty's heart break, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She was undecided. So I made the choice for her. I had a childhood friend. At 18, she asked me to give her a man's face. She went to the battlefield to avenge her father and never returned. Today, I will give you her face. At the same time, I want to ask you to go to Huiqing in Jiangnan to check on my friend's mother for me. In return, I will take full responsibility for arranging your escape. After the madam agreed, I left the manor to retrieve the icebox from Dianzhuang Tower. I hurried back to the Marquis manor with the box. only to find the Marquis of Yongan, whom I hadn't seen for days, was there. The maids had all been driven out. They stood at the door, looking at each other. I heard the sound of porcelain shattering in the room. Then came the madam's questioning voice. You forced me to accept your equal wife. I accepted that. But you want me to manage your wedding? To watch you bow and marry someone else with my own eyes? Chu Huaixiong, how can you be so cruel to me? The vow you made at the matchmaker's temple to love me with one heart for a lifetime, was it a lie? You never loved me at all. The Marquis coaxed her in a low voice. How could I not have loved you? You were the first woman I loved when I first felt attraction. Even with Ninger. The one I love most in my heart is still you. But as the mistress of the house, if you avoid certain things, people will gossip. You don't need to do much for the wedding. Just look over the list of betrothal gifts, set the invitations for the various families, and show your face during the ceremony on the wedding day. Disgusting man. Telling her he loves her while doing things that hurt her. Perhaps because her departure was imminent. The madam would no longer endure it. I heard a crisp slap. Then the madam's angry rebuke, Chu Huaixiong. You are heartless and shameless. Get out. I will never arrange a wedding for you and Yi Guining. If you're unsatisfied, you can just write a divorce decree and kick me out. A long silence followed. Then the Marquis of Yongan's voice came through gritted teeth. You spiteful woman. Since you refuse the dignity I've offered you. Then after I marry Ninger, you will vacate the main courtyard for her. Pack your things. Tomorrow, I'll have someone move you to the side courtyard. Of course, I won't divorce you. Even if you die, you must die within the walls of my manor. The door was kicked open with great force. The Marquis of Yongan stormed out in a rage. I quickly stepped aside to make way. I had nowhere to hide the icebox in my hands. Faint white vapor was wafting from it. The Marquis stopped in his tracks. He glared displeasurably at the box. What is inside? The weather is turning cold now. Why are you still bringing iced food to the madam? As he spoke, he reached out to take it. I clutched the box and took a step back. I explained with a feigned look of panic. This is a new type of crystal sugar cake from the capital. To prevent the sugar from melting, it is packed in this box once made. And kept frozen in an ice cellar. Actually, it doesn't taste cold at all. The Marquis took a step forward. The madam doesn't like sweets. Ninger likes these. I'll take them back to Fragrance Court. What a meddling scumbag. One of my hands, hidden in my sleeve, was already fiddling with a silver needle. I planned to wait for the Marquis to turn around. Then stab him in the back, and knock him out. Just then, a teacup was thrown from inside the room, striking the Marquis right on the head. The madam appeared at the door with a stern expression. Is your love just like that box of pastries? Because Yi Guining likes them. You take everything away from me. And give it all to her? Standing between the two of them, I felt the atmosphere grow strange. I couldn't help but peek at the Marquis's expression. He looked as though he should be angry that the madam lashed out at him. But in the corners of his eyes and brows there was a trace of undeniable pleasure. This man is truly a glutton for punishment. The Marquis handed the box back to the madam. Shi Qian, don't be angry. This is the first time I've seen you this upset. Acting so jealous. You've been so cold to me lately. I almost thought you didn't care about me anymore. I know, that Ninger situation has hurt your heart lately. The future is long. I will make it up to you slowly. He would soon find out that they wouldn't have a future at all. The madam didn't say a word. She glanced at me. I followed her into the room. She turned around and slammed the door shut. The Marquis stood outside for a moment before finally leaving. Before the madam lay down, I handed her a cup of tea mixed with a sedative. She shook her head, still refusing my kindness. She was still a bit afraid. As I moved my hand, she blinked and took the initiative to start a conversation with me. Let me tell you my story. Once it's told, my life as the daughter of the Yi family and the madam of a noble house will end along with the story. I looked down at the madam's expression. She was smiling. You're curious, aren't you? Curious why we're both my parents' daughters, yet only I am unloved. Curious why Chu Huaixiong was engaged to Yi Guining, yet he married me. After all, you'd even lean out the window to listen to sparrows arguing. Was my gossiping nature really that obvious? I laughed. Since you've seen through me, I won't pretend anymore. I really am curious about your past. The madam's story began when she was 2 years old. When she was 2, her father went south to serve as an official. Fearing her father would take a mistress, her mother followed him, leaving her behind to be raised by her grandmother. Her grandmother disliked her for being a girl, and was very cold toward her. Usually, she only had maids and nannies for company. As she grew older, she realized that other children were doted on and protected by their parents, so she secretly asked her nanny where her own parents were. The nanny always comforted her, saying her parents would come to take her for a reunion during the new year. She waited year after year, until she was 8. Her father was reassigned back to the capital, bringing back a 5-year-old sister. She felt distant and awkward with her parents, and her parents felt no affection for this daughter. They had been separated from since childhood. They doted on the younger sister they had raised. On the sister's first lantern festival in the capital, on the pretext that the sister hadn't seen the Golden Bell Lantern Fair, they left the older daughter at home and only took the younger sister out to play. Unexpectedly, the fair was crowded and chaotic, and the 5-year-old sister went missing. Her parents spent 6 months searching desperately, but there was still no news of her sister. So they consulted a fortune teller. He said that if they changed the elder sister's name to something related to her sister, fate would surely bring the sister back. And so, after losing her sister, she lost her own name too. Her name was changed from Yishu to Yishuanshu. Yishuanshu was originally her sister's name. Every time she was happy while growing up, her parents would grumble about her lost sister nearby. You're here enjoying yourself at home. But my poor Shuer is suffering somewhere unknown. Your sister hasn't been found yet. How can you be so happy? How can you live such a comfortable life with a clear conscience? The clothes you wear should have been your sister's. She was fair and lovely from a young age. These clothes and jewelry would definitely look better on her. Such heavy accusations filled her young heart with immense guilt. She developed a habit of humble, fawning behavior toward her parents. Her father's health was poor, and her mother suffered from chronic headaches and back pain after childbirth. To help her parents recover, she even knelt at a physician's door for 3 days to plead for an apprenticeship. After learning, she personally performed acupuncture and massage for them every month and prepared medicinal baths. Thanks to her efforts to please them, her parents gradually grew closer to her. But that closeness, from the moment Gwynning was found, was completely withdrawn by her parents once again. They saw her as an enemy to their beloved daughter, even going so far as to plot for her to lose her own child. During those 2 years when her parents were in the south, the Marquis of Yongan was taken by his parents to travel 1,000 miles to mourn his grandmother. The two families crossed paths then. The Marquis took her father as his mentor to study literature and history. It happened to be when her mother gave birth to her sister, so a childhood betrothal was arranged for the two. After the sister went missing, the Marquis frequently visited the house, with Master Yi being his mentor. They became well acquainted over time. The Marquis was only 2 months older than her. When she first felt the stirrings of love, the madam had secretly fallen for this young man who would bring her sweets and folk trinkets. But she knew he was her sister's betrothed, so she never showed her feelings. She even kept a deliberate, cold distance from him. Later, Master Yi took the initiative to suggest they not waste the Marquis's youth, and offered to dissolve the childhood engagement. But the Marquis rejected his proposal. In front of both sets of parents, he vowed that his heart belonged to her, and he was willing to fulfill the marriage contract with the Yi family by marrying her. So at 16, she married the man she loved but never dared to hope for. That man even promised he would have no one else in his life but her. She was as happy as if she were in a dream. However, this dream only lasted for 4 short years. 4 years later, the sister who had gone missing was found. The husband who had promised her his whole life changed his face completely after spending one night with her sister, ignoring the fact that she was recovering from a miscarriage. He bluntly said he must take responsibility for her sister and would marry her sister as an equal wife. She spent her recovery period crying almost every day, yet the husband who once treated her with deep affection said that she was just playing the victim. As a way to stop her sister from joining the household, everyone said she had stolen her sister's place. Now, the fact that she wasn't being divorced was considered the Marquis's way of showing mercy. Everyone was forcing her to yield and compromise, expecting her to smile while watching the man she loved marry another woman. In her despair, she ended up walking into Dianzhuang Tower. The tip of the needle I inserted into the madam's skin was coated with a sedative. The madam talked until she drifted off into an unconscious sleep. I took out a bell. I lightly bit the bone worm hidden within the madam's face skin, and withdrew the bone threads that held the flesh. Slowly, I peeled off the face I had been with for 5 days. Without changing my expression, I replaced it with the face of my old friend that had been sealed in the icebox for years. The bone worms worked diligently inside to adjust the new skin, fitting it perfectly to the bone and flesh. It wasn't until the 3rd watch of the night that a dark figure silently slipped into the manor and dropped a female corpse before me. I pointed to the madam sleeping soundly on the bed and told the newcomer, "Take her and the bundle beside her with you. Hide her in my room in Dianzhuang Tower for 2 days of rest. Once the worms have emerged, you will personally make the trip to escort her to the Zhao family in Huiqing." I found the lamp oil hidden under the madam's bed and doused the entire room. Then I tossed a fire starter. The moment the fire swallowed the room, I used the momentum to leap up, hiding myself in a distant tree. The maids had long since been sent back to the servants' quarters. By the time the people in the manor noticed the fire, half of the madam's room had already burned down. I saw the Marquis of Yongan running over in panic, screaming out of control. The madam's name. I saw the suicide note the madam had left in the courtyard in advance drift toward the Marquis's feet with the wind. He picked it up with trembling hands. "Today I bid farewell with my life. The debt of birth and upbringing is severed. The heart of love is extinguished. From now on, whether in the highest heavens or the lowest depths, my only wish is to be separated from you, never to meet again." I saw the fake second Miss Yi trying to hold back the Marquis as he tried to rush into the sea of fire, only to be violently pushed to the ground by him. After the manor's people put out the fire, they carried out a charred corpse. A wail escaped the Marquis's throat. He knelt on the ground and burst into tears, nearly driven to madness. Ah, Shirchen. I was wrong. I won't marry an equal wife anymore. Please come back, okay? I only want you. I'll only ever want you from now on. Ah. Ah. Human nature is truly pathetic. Only when something is lost do they learn to cherish it. I gave a cynical laugh. Having no interest in watching this farce any longer, I covered my face and slipped away into the night. I didn't expect that 6 months later, I would see the Marquis again. I was just outside, buying a bouquet of flowers from a little beggar. By the time I smelled a strange fragrance, it was too late. The incense entered my lungs, and my vision immediately went black as I collapsed. When I woke up, I was in a secret prison cell. The Marquis of Yongnan was sitting just on the other side of a door. I rattled the iron chains that bound my hands and feet to the wall. I acted surprised. Where is this? Why have you captured me? I was indeed surprised that the Marquis could trace this back to me. It seems he isn't the lustful idiot I thought he was. The Marquis's gloomy eyes fell on me. Killing intent was clear. Master of Dianzhuang Tower, by Fian. You dared to destroy my wife. I might spare your life today if you cooperate. I wasn't flustered. I chuckled. My lord, isn't your wife right there in your manor? I even went to observe the wedding ceremony. Just a month ago. Your little wife looked like she was already 4 months pregnant. The day the madam faked her death to escape, the Marquis's heart-wrenching remorse was still vivid in my mind. I had thought he would at least mourn the madam for a year or so. I didn't expect that in just 2 months, he and that second Miss Yi would have already produced a child. Such a lonely, filthy man has the nerve to keep pestering the madam. The Marquis retorted, I already know it's Shirchen. She didn't want me to take an equal wife, so Ninger entered the house only as a low-ranking concubine. If she's willing to come back, I can overlook the fact that she conspired with you to deceive me. She is still the only wife of Chu Huaixiong. I gave him a slightly disdainful look. You, a filthy man who couldn't keep his vows. Is being your wife supposed to be some kind of gift or honor? The Marquis gritted his teeth. By Fian, I'm not here to bicker with you. If you don't reveal Shirchen's whereabouts today, I'll make you taste the hundreds of tortures unique to the imperial prison. After saying this, the Marquis picked up a small mechanism and pressed it lightly. A dart shot like a falling star, striking my shoulder. The pain of flesh being pierced followed immediately. The dart must have been poisoned. I felt the wound as if countless tiny insects were biting it. This is just a small lesson. If you still won't talk, next time, it won't just be 2 darts. I looked at the Marquis's grim face. My own killing intent was boiling over. From the time the tower discovered I was in danger to finding my location, it would likely take 2 days. I had to find a way to stall this madman for 2 days. I feigned pain, took a sharp breath, and said to the Marquis, since you could find me, you must have investigated Dianzhuang Tower. The tower has its rules. We only take orders and don't pry into clients' affairs. As for your wife's whereabouts, I only know she went southwest. She once mentioned wanting to see the rugged scenery there. This was something the madam had casually mentioned to me. The Marquis had traveled in his youth and spent 2 years in the Shu region. He had promised his wife that they would visit the Shu region together given the chance. Hearing my words, the Marquis clearly remembered. This promise he failed to keep. He fell silent for a moment, then called his subordinates to investigate the Shu region. Send someone to Shu immediately to find out what happened back then. He threatened me coldly. I'm sure you know. I have no patience left for you. If no trace of my wife is found in Shu, I will personally slice off your hands, piece by piece. The Marquis turned and left. The candle in the cell was extinguished along with him. I was locked in total darkness for 2 days. Without food or water, my body felt weak with hunger. My head was spinning. When I heard the sound of the lock opening, for a moment, I thought someone from the tower had come to save me. It wasn't until I heard the person's disorganized, light footsteps that I realized it wasn't my savior. A gust of fragrant wind brushed past my nose. Click. A fire starter flickered before me. I saw the elegant and lovely face of the second Miss Yi. I wasn't wearing a disguise. The second Miss Yi recognized me too. When her probing gaze fell on my face, her eyes filled with shock and panic. I heard Huaixiong captured the master of Dianzhuang Tower. So it was really you. Did you tell him anything about me? I feared this woman had come today to silence me. I tried to explain. Miss Yi, our tower has rules. We never reveal client information to outsiders. I haven't mentioned a word about you. To the Marquis of Yongnan. The woman before me obviously wasn't listening. A trace of ruthlessness appeared in her eyes. Looking at me, she said sinisterly. Only dead people can keep secrets forever. I'm sorry, Master Bai. I worked so hard to become Miss Yi. Hard to become the Marquis's only woman. I can't allow even the slightest chance for my current life of wealth and status to be ruined. A cold blade flashed in her hand. A sharp dagger was thrust into my chest. Suddenly, a swift wind rushed in, stopping the attack just in time. The newcomer twisted the blade. The hilt of the knife struck Miss Yi on the back of her head. She collapsed instantly onto the floor. I breathed a sigh of relief. I finally stopped enduring the pain in silence. Crying out in pain, I shouted, Ayuan, hurry and break these chains, and put something on my wound. Ayuan silently treated my wound, and popped an antidote pill into my mouth. Only when color returned to my face did he ask why. He was blaming me. Why did you ditch your secret guards? To go out alone? I pouted. I just wanted to have some fun for a couple of days. Who knew the Marquis of Yongnan was actually capable enough to trace this back to me? These two, one cruel and one poisonous. They truly are a perfect match. I tied up the second Mishi and tossed her into a corner. Then I loosely hooked the chains back onto my limbs, waiting for the Marquis to arrive. Since they created such an adventure for me, I had to return the favor. In the evening, the Marquis arrived in black robes. This time, he didn't interrogate me from outside the door. He entered the cell directly and grabbed me by the throat. You dared to lie to me? I think you truly want to die. It seemed no trace of the madam had been found, and he was driven mad with rage. His eyes were bloodshot. He drew his sidearm and was about to carve the flesh from my shoulder. I grinned, shook off the chains, and shot a silver needle straight into the Marquis's chest. He wasn't expecting me to fight back. In an instant, he was drugged. He collapsed to the floor. I called out to the ceiling. Ayuan, drag that woman over. I was truly curious. Since the Marquis adored this beauty so much, how would he feel if he knew her real identity? I told him, save her. Ayuan said nothing. He carried Yi Guining from the corner and dropped her at the Marquis's feet. The Marquis, being drugged, was powerless to struggle. He only glared at me. Don't touch her. I'm the one who captured you. I'm the one who wants to kill you. Come at me. I shook my head. I pointed to the bloodstain on my chest. This was a stab wound from your concubine. If my person hadn't arrived in time to prevent the blade from going deeper, I'd have been murdered by her to keep her secret. The Marquis didn't believe it. Ninger is always gentle and timid. If you hadn't kidnapped her, she wouldn't even dare to enter the secret cell. Miss Yu was so scared she could only cry and plead. My lord, save me. I'm still carrying our child. I watched the beauty crying piteously and saw the look of heartache on the Marquis's face. I couldn't help but clap in praise. What a performance. Is this how you deceived the Marquis? Making him betray his wife and break his vows for you? Spending every night singing and dancing with you? You truly live up to your name as Flowery Peony, whose fame once spread across the willow banks. Your skill at playing men is no small thing. Flowery Peony's crying became a shrill scream. Shut up. Lord, this woman is making up lies to harm me. Don't believe a word. The Marquis stared at me with a heavy, dark face. What do you mean by that? I stepped on Flowery Peony's neck with my foot, forcing her head down toward the Marquis. I held up a lamp and leaned over. Below Flowery Peony's ear, I found a faint red dot and pointed it out to the Marquis. My lord, you should have investigated how we change faces. The only trace left behind is the tiny puncture wound where the boneworms entered and exited. Take a good look at this person in front of you. She's not the second Missy at all. She just used the second Miss's face. The Marquis's pupils constricted slightly. He looked at Flowery Peony and asked, is what she says true? Who on earth are you? Flowery Peony couldn't hide her panic, but she still insisted, my lord. I am Yi Guining. I am your wife, and the mother of your child. Do not listen to the provocations of this outsider. I let out a cold snort and said to Flowery Peony, since we're all being so honest here, if you won't tell the truth, then I'll say it for you. I turned to the Marquis and spoke slowly. She was once the most famous courtesan of Huaiwa Pavilion in Jiangnan. As she got older, she became the pavilion's madam. Don't be fooled by the fact that she currently has the face of a 17-year-old immortal. In reality, she's already 32. She's even a whole cycle older than you. The expression on the Marquis's face shifted several times. He likely didn't want to believe that he had actually slept with an aging courtesan. He blurted out in denial. Impossible. Ninger's temperament is delicate and innocent. She doesn't seem like a woman in her 30s. I smirked and asked him, my lord, can't you feel it for yourself? If she were truly a pure, 17-year-old maiden, how could she have captivated you so completely? You didn't really think she was some natural talent, did you? Those are just the skills she refined through many years in the pleasure quarters. I had heard that the Marquis of Yongnan was obsessed with cleanliness. After hearing my words, he likely imagined the woman by his side having been enjoyed by countless lowly men. Sure enough, a look of profound disgust appeared on his face. He glared at Flowery Peony with eyes full of rage. Flowery Peony continued to shake her head in denial. It's false. My lord, don't believe her. Look at me. I am the genuine daughter of the Yi family. Look at my face. Didn't you say I was as innocent and pure as in your memories? The Marquis avoided her gaze with a dark face. Having said everything I needed to say, I used the hilt of Ayuan's sword to shatter two of the Marquis's fingers with a crunch. This is payback for the 2 times you stabbed me. As for Flowery Peony, revealing your false identity offsets the debt of the knife wound you gave me. Oh, by the way, the real second Mrs. body still exists. It's kept in our Danrong Tower in Jiangnan. If the Marquis, or those two old fools from the Yi family want to claim it, prepare 100 taels of gold first. Back at Danrong Tower, Ayuan lowered his brow, looking unhappy. They hurt you. Why didn't you just kill them? I smiled and patted Ayuan's head. Sometimes, living is more painful than dying. Besides, Flowery Peony might not survive being in the hands of the enraged Marquis. Using the clues I provided, the Marquis quickly verified Flowery Peony's identity. The Yi parents also found out. They realized that for the sake of a fake daughter, they had driven their real daughter to perish in a fire just to say goodbye to them forever. In the tower, I received the Yi parents, who came with 100 taels of gold. Both were haggard and looked as if they had lost their souls. Old Mrs. Ye's eyes were red and swollen from crying. Landlady Bai, was my daughter truly killed by that toxic woman in the Marquis's house? Can you take me to see her? I unceremoniously took half of the gold. Of course. This is the deposit. Once you confirm the identity of the body as your missing second daughter, I'll take the remaining half. When I set off for Jiangnan with the elders, the Marquis also came along, riding his horse behind our carriage. This was because he had been stripped of his office by the emperor, all because he, as the commander of the guards, had deployed the military without permission, just to capture me and find his wife's location. On the way, the Marquis rode up to my carriage and asked in a low voice what relationship I had with the emperor. I laughed contemptuously. What does that have to do with you? In any case, I am not someone you can provoke. Now that you have no office and only an empty title, you can afford to offend me even less. Of course, I wasn't going to tell him that the current emperor is my biological father. Without such a major backing, how could Danrong Tower have operated so peacefully? My mother originally had a gentle and submissive temperament, just like the madam. She fell in love with my father in their youth, became pregnant with me, and then the dog emperor ascended. When the harem was filled with new women, my mother couldn't bear sharing her husband. In her heartbreak, she decided to leave and never looked back until the day she died. I think the reason I couldn't help but soften toward the madam was because she carried my mother's shadow, unafraid to give when in love, but capable of leaving with absolute resolve when it's over. After traveling for 2 months, we reached Danrong Tower in Jiangnan. I personally led the Marquis and the Yi parents to identify the remains. A maid in the tower was assigned to serve me. When we went to the parlor to open the casket, the maid stepped ahead of me and pushed the door open. Because her face was gone, I had covered the second Miss Ye's face with a layer of white gauze. Old Mrs. Yi stepped forward and threw herself by the body, her hands trembling as she uncovered the corpse. There's a small mole on her shoulder, a burn mark on her leg, and on her ankle. There's a scar from a neighbor's dog bite when she was little. This is the daughter I've been looking for 12 years. That woman in the Marquis's house. Don't think that because she committed suicide for her crimes, I won't settle the score. She killed my daughter. I'll scatter her ashes to the winds. Old Mr. Ye's legs gave out, and he slumped to the floor, his face filled with a hollow, vast sorrow. Daughter. Father has come too late. Don't be afraid. We're taking you home. We're going home. The Marquis watched in silence the whole time, until the Yi parents wiped their tears and prepared to take the body away. He stepped forward and blocked my path. Is my wife in Jiangnan? I know I offended you before, Landlady Bai. I am willing to sever my own arm to apologize. If only you would tell me her whereabouts. Hearing the Marquis mention his wife, the Yi parents both turned to look. A glimmer of hope appeared in old Mrs. Ye's eyes. She looked at me pitifully and asked, Landlady Bai, is my Xuanshu here with you? We were bad parents who wronged her. During this time she's been away. Her father's and my health have been failing. Only now do we realize how much she did to look after us. She was such a filial, good child. It's our fault for being poor parents. Old Mr. Ye's eyes were bloodshot as he looked over. After losing a fake daughter and hearing of the true second daughter's death, they finally remembered the madam's goodness. I looked at the Yi parents and asked, even if she were still here, so what? You destroyed her marriage and caused the death of her child. Do you really expect her to return without a care and continue being your filial daughter? Both were stunned into silence. They couldn't say a word. After a long time, Mr. Yi sighed. Forget it. We have no face to see her again. As long as we know she's living well somewhere in this world, that is enough. Old Mrs. Yi reached out and took off her jade bracelet, her hair ornaments, and her personal jade pendant one by one. She pressed them into my hands and pleaded, if you see my Xuanshu, please help me give these things to her. From now on, I only wish for her to live a relaxed and happy life. I glanced sideways at the maid standing beside me. She was expressionless, her eyes as calm as if she were looking at strangers. So, I hid my hands behind my back and took a step back. Jianrong Tower doesn't provide delivery services. Madam, please take your things back. The Yi parents looked dejected. With slumped shoulders, they walked away with unsteady steps. The Marquis still stood where he was, unmoving. He looked at me and said with certainty, you must know Shasher's whereabouts. I'm begging you, tell me. I know I broke her heart. At least give me a chance to apologize in person. I apologize for my offense last time. If that's not enough, after I see Xiaoshi one last time, you can have my life if you want it. Looking at the obsession and pleading on the Marquis's face, I only found him ridiculous. What are you pretending for, when she was by your side? You abandoned her to be with someone else. Not long after she supposedly died, you were in the mood to have children with someone else. Now you say you're willing to trade your life for news of her. Those words sound nauseatingly hypocritical to me. If you want to find her so badly, then don't go back to the capital to be a pampered marquis. Dress in plain clothes and vanish into the crowd. Walk every corner of the world to find her. If you love her so much, if she were standing right in front of you, you'd surely recognize her at a glance, wouldn't you? The Marquis closed his eyes, and 2 lines of tears shed in regret. Finally, he turned and left. Only when there were only our own people left in the tower did the maid turn to me. Long time no see. My friend. I saw a smile on this old friend's face that I hadn't seen in many years. Long time no see. I can't call you madam anymore. Yi Xuanshu or Xiaoshi, which one is your name now? The Yi family called her Xuanshu. The Marquis called her Xiaoshi. I didn't know which one she preferred. She shook her head gently. Neither of them is my name. Currently, my mother and I practice medicine outside. I gave myself the name Zhao Chang'an. My patients all call me Yang. Hearing that she had chosen her own name, I asked her, did Aunt Zhao recognize that you aren't her real daughter? She nodded. Even though I have the same face. From the first moment she saw me, Mother knew I wasn't the original Miss Zhao. I told her my story. She sympathized with me and took me in as her adopted daughter. Today, I had specifically arranged for her to see the Yi family and the Marquis. She now spoke calmly. Her gaze frank. It seemed that the regret and tears of those people hadn't left a single trace in her heart. I told Zhao Chang'an about Flowery Peony and said with some embarrassment, I won't blame you if you want to be mad at me. If I hadn't changed that face for her, she wouldn't have been taken back into the Yi family and wouldn't have had the chance to steal your parents and husband. Zhao Chang'an shook her head slightly. My parents never loved me. It's the same whether there was a sister or not. As for Chu Huaixiu, if he was going to break his vows to me so easily, then even without Yi Guining, there would have been someone else. In short, the Yi Xuanshu of the past is dead. She will not forgive the harm they caused. The past is sealed in bygone years. The Zhao Chang'an living now regards them only as strangers. I laughed. It seemed Zhao Chang'an truly had let go of the past. Well then, Anyang, I wish you peace and happiness forever.